What's up, guys and gals? Joe here, the man who is horribly addicted to spreading democracy in Helldivers 2. And I'm here to talk about UFC 298. And man, outside of one stinker, this was a pretty good card. It's a good palate cleanser for the trash we've been consuming and being fed by the UFC as of late. So enough talk. Let's get to the fights. Main event, Alexander Volkanovski, the champion, defending against the increasingly unlikable, at least in the build-up for the fight, Ilia Topuria. And this was a really good fight, I thought. First round, I thought Topuria won. Really hard low kicks that were really causing issues for the movement of Volkanovski, who is a movement-based fighter. A lot of people always kind of seem to brush over that. No, he's a movement guy. It's really based on his movements. So, taking away his movement with his kicks, something good. Something we also saw in another fight on the main card. But we'll talk about that in a second. Great pressure. Near the end of the round, Volkanovski was starting to get his timing, starting to get going, but it seemed like Topuria was pressuring and also like trying to figure out what Volk's timing is. It seems like he caught something in his game plan in my mind. I'd have to rewatch the fight and kind of really watch it over again, but I feel like he saw something and was looking to try and just time it. But you know, hey, Volk, first round near the end, he was getting some momentum back with some good kicks. Kicking a lot with his lead left side, so it was pretty solid. Second round, Volkanovski letting it rip with more kicks. Good counter striking. I think he's taking full momentum back. And literally, as I was saying it live, I was about to say, dude, he's really coming back. Like, he's dominating this round, you know, because he was. In my mind, I thought he was dominating the round. Suddenly, massive shot stings him. Then some follow-up combination crowds him. Just, boom. Volkanovski hits the mat and gets put out cold. And Ilia Topuria shows that he is this unicorn in the sense that a lot of people were claiming he was. He's the new featherweight champion, and I was stunned when this happened. Quick little fun side note, I have to point out these dudes had some awesome walkout songs. Topuria walked out to Los Lobos, Canción del Mariachi, which, you know, you might know from the opening scene of Desperado with Antonio Banderas. One of my all-time favorite songs. I love Los Lobos. And then Volkanovski, he normally comes out to the song. I don't think I've ever seen him not come out to the song, but it's a banger nonetheless. Men at Work, Land Down Under, which I first heard in Saints Row 2. Honestly, though, probably the best walkout song combination from both guys. Super thumbs up. But it was hard watching Volkanovski get KO'd. But let's look at the positives. You know, Topuria was pretty respectful and is honestly human and like humble. And when he looked stunned that he won, or at least he looked stunned that he finished him, that he was new world champion, which is something I think that's very telling. I think he was probably just putting on an act to kind of build hype for this event, because he definitely seemed very human in how he won the title in a good way. So hopefully he tones it down and I can go back to liking him, because I jumped off the fan hunt in the lead up to this fight because how he was acting. And he's an exciting fighter. He's a really exciting fighter with a lot of KO power. His striking is just getting better, but he's a phenomenal wrestler and a very good grappler as well. He came into the UFC known as like a big submission threat, funny enough, right? And he has submissions he has a submission win over Bryce Mitchell, who might be the best jiu-jitsu guy of the top 15 guys at 145. He submitted him. He beat him near unconscious first, but he did. And there's a lot of fun matchups at 145 for him. Like, I think him and Yair sounds kind of fun. Obviously the big one. There's one big one. It's Max Holloway. We all want to see it. I'm down to see that fight. It sounds wild. This is a guy who might have the most power since Chad Mendes did at this division. It's insane. Another guy, though, I want to see Evloev fight him, because I think he could neutralize Evloev's wrestling-centered attack. So that's something I'm interested in. co-main, we had Robert Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, one of my all-time favorite fighters ever, taking on the connoisseur of secret juice himself, Paulo Costa. And this fight was absolutely awesome. Just a bonkers fight. These guys were at it non-stop. Early fight of the year contender for me. You had Costa just swinging that power. Whitaker was cracking jabs and good combinations, also attacking that low kick, or attacking with the low kick, really battering Costa with that kick, because he was so hampered. There's times in the later round, in the third round, where Costa would try and slip a shot and then try and lunge in to land the big counter shot, and he can't because his leg is so beat up, so he's just kind of like almost motionless in terms of his positioning, and just kind of like, it was so telling how bad his leg was hurt. At the end of the first, Rob, I thought, was winning the fight 90% of it, but at the end of the first round, Costa launches a massive wheel kick that lands super clean, and Rob looked like he was super close to going out, and he somehow survived to the bell. And then, like, right after in the second round, he went right back to just moving around, moving super quick, great combinations. Robert Whitaker wins by unanimous decision. Fantastic fight. Oh, good stuff. Good violent stuff. And admittingly, I thought it was like a foregone conclusion, because I watched all the fights on the card. I thought it was like a foregone conclusion that this was fight of the night. You know? Like, but it wasn't. Weird. Admittingly, I find this odd that this wasn't fight of the night. But hey, the one stinker, though, let's get that out of the way. The one stinker on this main card was Ian Machado Gary. He got a decision win over Jeff Neal by split decision. Now, I thought it was kind of whack. The fight wasn't good. I want to stress, this fight sucked. But Ian Gary won. He was using a lot of movement, a lot of kicks. That's normally cool stuff. But I feel like the majority of the fight, because the numbers were close, right? The significant strike numbers were really close, except Ian Gary was being controlled in the clinch. He was getting holly-homed, admittingly. He was getting holly-homed super hard by Jeff Neal. And even then, when the numbers were close, when they were really going at it, Jeff Neal was landing the bigger shots. The commentary was super biased for this fight. I felt like I was watching, like, Izzy Jan Blachowicz again. Oh, like, it was a really weird commentary. It definitely shows you, who the UFC wanted to win and wanted to put the... I think this is a bad decision. I'm not calling corruption, by the way. I don't want anyone thinking that. I just think it was a really bad decision because judges are awful historically everywhere. And the UFC got really lucky that judges were crap tonight. For that fight, were just garbage. I think. I've seen, like, back and forth. I've seen people say, "Oh, you can do any scorecard to work." Sure, if you think that, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I just disagree. I personally disagree with that. Probably the most impressive performance for me of the night was Merab Valishvili. Oh man, I always destroy his last name. It destroys me, I should say. But Merab, he got this crazy win over Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, I thought he won the first round. He stunned Merab, and I thought he was doing a really good job. But then, third round, Merab's just dominating it. In the striking, in the wrestling, and he's showboating the entire time in just a ridiculous fashion. Unbelievable for me. Like, I thought that was unbelievable performance he put on. Seriously, 2 thumbs up. Sounds like Henry's retiring. He didn't get the thing. Dana White, like, came across really salty and saying, like, he's already done that before. He's already had the big speech. He doesn't need it again. Does that mean he retired? Like, I don't understand. Where's your saltiness coming from, Dana? You need to calm down, buckaroo. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, he really struggled to get the fight to the mat early against Roman Kopylov in the opener. But when he did, in the second round, he got a slick rear naked choke win. It's good stuff. The main fight of the prelims, the main event of the prelims, you could say the showcase. There's another word for it. I forgot what they used to call it. Regardless, Amanda Lemos and Mackenzie Dern, they had the official fight of the night. It was a good fight, with Lemos getting a unanimous decision win with her power striking. Marcos Rogerio de Lima got a low kick TKO win over Junior Tafa, who replaced his brother Justin. Rinya Nakamura got a kind of a dominant smish kind of style, very Dagestani-esque win with like a lot of wrestling and ground and pound over Carlos Vera for a decision. Zhang Mingyang got a massive KO win over Brinson Ribeiro in the first round. Danny Barlow, I like the name Barlow, reminds you of a villain in one of my favorite books of all time, Salem's Lot. Danny Barlow, he got a monster TKO win over Josh Quinlan. Just dropped him like 4 times in like 5 seconds. It was unbelievable. Oban Elliott got a unanimous decision win over Val Woodburn. Miranda Maverick finally opening up the whole card, put on a clinic over Andrea Lee. But there's some news. And I'm going to make it quick. First, the cool news, and there's some cool news. I think it's cool, fun, cool news. And there's some weird news. So, I'll get to it. So the fun stuff first. Wanderlei the Axe Murderer Silva is going into the UFC Hall of Fame. And this year is shaping up to be a lot of my all-time favorites joining the Hall of Fame. So hats off and congrats to the man, myth, legend himself. And time for the unfun, kind of weird news. UFC 300's main event got announced. It's Alex Pereira versus Jamala Hill. So, maybe I'm crazy, right? We all know I'm kind of crazy, kind of nuts, kind of psycho. But I feel like this wasn't an option when like fight fans were talking about potential main events that they would want to see or deserve that spot. And because no one was talking about this potential fight, I feel like it comes across as a low requested fight. Like the UFC just didn't want to pay anybody worth anything to like, or pay anybody like good money to fight at UFC 300. I don't know. That said, here's some positives at it. Let's look at the positives, look at the bright side. I'm in a good mood. So it's a legitimate title fight. That's something I wasn't expecting, admittingly, for a little bit. When it was getting close, I was like, oh, they're going to just do a random interim title fight, aren't they? They're going to make up another belt. They're going to do something stupid, aren't they? So that's nice. Puts a nice little bow. You know, it's legit. It being a legitimate title fight puts a nice little bow on a card. It's already like shaping out to be pretty well crafted. It's good. It's a good card. I think 298 and 299 look better on paper so far, but hey. That said, here's the weird part. UFC 301 got announced. It's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So UFC historically likes to have a Brazilian champion main event in Brazil. Who are the Brazilian champions currently? There, you probably thought about it for a second. Yeah, Alex Pereira, obviously. Alexander Pantoja. Okay, that means he's probably going to be fighting at 301, main eventing it. Sick, down for that. Sounds fun. Here's the thing with that. I love flyweights. I'm a big flyweight fan. I want them to get more main events, so I am kind of happy to see this. But, like, casual audiences don't care about flyweight, sadly. You know, like Pantoja's kind of getting momentum and he's building up as a fan favorite, especially like making fun of his deadbeat dad. Sick stuff. But he isn't a star yet. And Pereira, I don't think he's necessarily a star, but he gets casual fans' attention. You know, like UFC 300, I'm going to argue this. I don't think UFC 300 needs star power. Like, you don't need a Conor or anything like that because it's like a big numbered event, like 100, 200, 300, all massive events. You just put great fights on it because a lot of people are going to watch it just like, oh, this is a 300 pay-per-view, I'm going to go check it out. And they're going to watch it. You put on great fights with great quality matchmaking and you're going to get so many new fans into the sport. That's where you make stars, I think, is these big events. You know, there's a reason on International Fight Week if they like you and they want you to be a star, they put you on that main card. You know what I mean? So, I think it's weird. I feel like they sacrificed 301's pay-per-view, or their main event for 301, just because they couldn't get anything going for 300. It's almost like all this hullabaloo about them planning UFC 300 months in advance so intensively and just meticulously. It's just BS, you know? I think it is. I think it's total BS. Once again, I want to stress, me and Carl will matchmake the UFC for all of them, and we would do a better job. You know what you should do, if you haven't already, though, just because we're sharing all these great things, go check out the newest retro review on the channel, Nick Diaz versus Paul Daly in Strikeforce, one of the wildest one-round fights of all time. It is insane. Also, be on the lookout for more stuff coming down the pipe, as me and Carl are always working on new content to bring to you guys. And if you like us, consider supporting us on Patreon. It really helps out the channel, helps out a ton right now. And as a little bonus, you can request any fight card. As long as I can get my hands on it, I'll review it for the Retro Review series. I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you so much for watching.